Good day, everybody, and welcome to 20 Minutes on Ice, powered by the Garage Door Sports Network. I'm your host, Ryan, and as always, with me is Nick. We've got a great show coming up for you, so let's get right to our opening face-off. Today on 20 Minutes, we are going to be getting into Tim Peel, who is the referee fired for his comments last week, plus the quarantine period for players coming into Canada from U.S. teams has been reduced from 14 days to 7 days with increased testing. And of course, we have all your favorite segments, including Players of the Week, 3 Hot, 3 Not, and we'll fire up the randomizer, but I need my co-host in all this. So introducing is a man who's the bassist in a Police cover band, Nick McVicker. Nick, how's it going this week?
It's good, man. And it is funny that you picked Police for that, because one of the first songs I learned on bass was actually a Police song, because it was one of my favorite songs when I was a kid.
The Police.
So it's funny that you picked the Police.
They seem like a band for bassists that you would go to, right?
And I am a bass player.
Yes.
So.
We discovered that actually on the first day that we worked together, when you showed me a picture of your younger self and I pointed you out.
Nick.
Yeah, and I pointed you out as, hey, you look like you should be playing bass at a outdoor festival. Sure enough, the next picture on your phone was you playing bass at an outdoor festival. So that was that kicked off a beautiful friendship, and now here we are, episode 36, 20 Minutes on Ice. How about in the NWHL, we have a champion. They came back, they finished their season, they stuck with it. The Boston Pride are your Isabel Cup champions in the NWHL.
Yeah, and it was a good final. Ironically, it was the final that never happened in 2020. It was the same two teams, Boston and Minnesota.
Yep.
Boston was actually the 4 seed going into this final. I watched the game. I was actually doing my internship, and I was watching the game. I was watching the basketball. I had the Leaf game on the radio. Like, everything was happening, and all the games were great. 4-3 final. There was a controversial penalty shot in the third period that was kind of like just craziness. Girl fell in the crease. They called a hand on the puck penalty shot. And then they sent her to the box for a delay of game. And then they pulled her back out of the box for the penalty shot. Goalie made the save. Next shift, very next shift, not even 30 seconds in, Minnesota goes and scores to make it 3-2. Boston scores right after. Minnesota scores with like 20 seconds left. 4-3 game. Great finish. You got to love to see it.
Yeah, and it's kind of fitting that Boston won after the season was canceled last year. They were 23-1. At that point. And then when they restarted in Lake Placid, they were, I believe I saw the record at 4-4. So you mentioned they came in as the 4th seed. So rather fitting that they actually ended up winning the championship. Minnesota was looking for, I guess you could say, back-to-back championships, because they won the cup 2 years ago. So good to see the NWHL. At least they were able to get back on NBC Sports, and that didn't go away. Unfortunately, the arena didn't look too good, but I think they would take finishing their season over looks at this point. It was,
you know what, the aesthetic of the actual arena, I don't think the players necessarily care. If there's no fans, they don't care how many seats the arena has. They don't care what sponsorships on the arena. They just wanted to play, and they got the chance to play. They still had that blue ice in the middle, which is now going to be the NWHL thing, which, you know what, fine, do it. Like, if you have your thing, do it.
Yeah, I don't like it, but yeah, it's their own. It doesn't matter what I like.
It's like the ECHL with the blue posts, right? Like, yeah. It's their thing. It's not normal, but run with it. Yeah. And yeah, I think they're just happy to get it done. We were watching it. Obviously, we posted from the Garage Door Sports Network, which was awesome. We were very happy to see that finish.
How about the Calgary Flames? Now, Daryl Sutter came in a few weeks ago. We covered it on this show. And I watched them on Saturday night against Winnipeg, even though they actually won that game. Since Daryl Sutter has actually stepped behind the bench, they're 2-5. And in those 7 games, only 15 goals for. That's just over 2 goals a game. This team does not look like, they look like all the fears are coming true. They're trying to play an old shutdown style, and it's really seems to be stifling the offense.
Yeah. The funny thing is that I don't think they could have scored before Sutter came in, and now it's just kind of elevated when he stepped behind the bench. I don't know why I put my headphone in. I don't like that one. But it just doesn't look right. Something is not sitting right in Calgary, and it should. The talent is there. We know that. We've talked about it before. They have talented players. And I'm not just talking about the Goudreaus, the Monahans, right? I'm talking about 1 through 12 on that front, on the forward group. There's talent all the way through. I'm not saying it's the best talent in the league, but they have players who should be able to score, but they're not. There's something wrong with their offensive mindset, and I can't quite put my finger on it other than the fact that they're starting to look like they don't want to play. Outside of maybe Matthew Tkachuk, who always looks like he wants to go in the corner and run people down, which is a whole nother issue in some games, they really don't have that drive. They don't have that motivation necessarily to go to the net. And they should, because a couple more goals in this stretch, that 2-5 record is probably flipped. Like, that's the sad part.
They have the goaltending pieces, which hasn't been as good as they needed. It hasn't been horrible, but it hasn't been as good as they needed. When I turned them on Saturday, I figured I'd watch the whole thing. And as soon as I saw them play, they still won 4-2. So obviously I'm missing something, but it just doesn't seem like they're moving the puck fast and they're generating anything to the front of the net. Now, 2 of their goals on Saturday were just absolute trash cans by Laurent Brossoit, Jets backup goalie. So maybe if you take those out of the equation, it's more of a 2-2 game, but I just don't see Calgary generating any offense right now. However, Alex Ovechkin.
Hold on. I want to also add in. They had 4 goals in that game against Winnipeg. In the last week, in their 4 games, they only have 8 total. So you mentioned that 2 of those goals were cheapos that might not have gone in on a normal game if Brossoit had done probably what he should have done.
Had checked in.
That's 6 goals in 4 games. That is not good enough for a team that was supposed to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable.
And it's a situation where, and I don't see them making the playoffs this year. They're too
not
much
anymore. They should have been a playoff team. They're not anymore.
Yeah, they're too much of a scramble, a question mark this year. But is it going to be a case, and time will only tell on this one, is it going to be a case of this group just needs some time to get used to the system, or is this just an old system that isn't going to work? So we'll find out there. But as I was going to mention, someone who is on fire, Alex Ovechkin, 9 goals in his last 8 games. That is since March 12th. He is on pace to eclipse the leaders as far as Matthews, McDavid, as far as the Rock Richard Trophy this year. Does he do it? And also the side thing to watch is the all-time goals. He just keeps climbing that list, and by the end of the year, he should be passing Marcel Dion, I believe.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him. And Ovechkin is one of those guys that I don't think anybody in the league hates. I don't think any fan hates Ovechkin. Even Pittsburgh fans respect and like watching Ovechkin play just because he doesn't necessarily do anything to piss people off, but he's just damn good at the game. It's like with Crosby too. He doesn't really piss people off. He's just damn good at the hockey. So you see him do this kind of thing, and you see him go on these streaks. And we saw it earlier in the season when Austin Matthews was on that ridiculous point streak. Like, everything he touched was gold. Well, now it's Ovechkin's turn. He's closing that gap. The Rocket Richard Trophy is going to come down very, very interesting to the end. Matthews is on a bit of a cold streak now, but we know him. He gets hot, he gets hot. So
that's
if he turns it back on, that'll be good. McDavid is just stupid good.
McDavid just floats along at, just kind of going with the flow at 2 points a game. No big deal. And then all of a sudden he's had 49 points in his last 12 minutes of play, that kind of thing. So he could fire up at any second. So it's going to be a great race. And it's so awesome to have like superstars in the race. And
other names that we haven't even mentioned yet. Draisaitl is up there. Mikko Rantanen from Colorado, he's up there. You're looking at Pacioretty too from Vegas. He's at 18 goals, tied with Ovechkin. And then you want a name that no one expected to be up there, and Tyler Toffoli at 18. Sure, why not? That's 7 guys that all are within reach of the Rocket Richard. All have played around the same amount of games. It's going to be fun all the way down to the end, right?
Yeah. And like I mentioned, the side thing that's fun to watch is Ovechkin's climb through the all-time ranks.
Of course.
And I just love to see him start chasing Gretzky. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay at the top of his game. But it's Ovechkin, so don't count him out.
He's playing until he's 55 almost.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's just stupid healthy.
Yeah. Eric Staal, traded by the Buffalo Sabres to the Montreal Canadiens.
The stockpile that is Buffalo at this point, because that's all they're worth.
And he probably got out of there as quickly as possible, just like dancing on the way out. Everything's doing. It's the
doing a little jig.
Yeah, exactly. See you guys later. Won't miss you. Thanks for. He would literally
see
go
you.
anywhere.
Love you. Bye bye.
But of course, that trade was made. We'll get into the new shorter quarantine period, but that trade was made pretty much as soon as the new quarantine period, the messaging came down. So he is quarantining right now, but this sort of seems like a bit of what Dallas did last year. Montreal has Corey Perry, picking up Eric Staal for that veteran presence. You got to stay deep at the center position regardless. So anybody who picked up Eric Staal, it kind of be a plus. It's just a nice depth move, but we'll see what Montreal can do with this.
Yeah, and it was not worth a whole lot either.
Yeah,
it was a third and a fifth.
Yeah, and Buffalo doesn't even have a scouting department at this point, so we'll see if those picks really materialize into anything.
I'm not worried about him fitting in Montreal either. No. He's going to be a third line center, most likely, maybe fourth, depending on how they see their lines going. He brings that presence. I mean, this is a guy who did win a cup, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's been there, done that. He knows what he's got to do. So, hey, that's a good piece to bring into a team that, like Montreal, I think is going to make the playoffs at this point. I will give them enough credit to say that they will get it to the end of the season.
Yeah, only 3 goals on the year for Staal, but again, they're bringing in the veteran presence, a guy who's been a captain, knows how to win, and I don't
think they were looking for goals from this guy. This is a veteran presence at this rate. That's all it is.
Yeah, guy who's going to bring the winning pedigree. All right, Nick, let's go back down south to Miami, Florida, the Florida Panthers, as we do at every point in our show, and do the Barks and Hubie watch. Now, a bit of a different week. Barkov,
you're telling me.
Barkov was not able to compete this week in the Barks and Hubie watch, so Jonathan Huberdeau jumped out to a bit of a small lead here. Why don't you fill us in on the details?
Yeah, so unfortunate for Barkov, got a little bit of an injury. He's missed all week, so 4 games for the Florida Panthers. And Huberdeau did he did what he's done all season and what Barkov's done all season. He put up points, 5 points, 4 games, 2 goals in that time frame. The concerning thing for me for Barkov is the -2, while he still has 5 points, because that means he's giving up points when at even strength, and he only had 2 power play points, so that means he was on the ice for 5 goals against at even strength.
Yeah, that's
concerning.
That is, yeah. And was Barkov covering that up? Is that a stat because Barkov's excellent defensive play covers that up?
That's another question. We don't know that. And I mean, he was only 33% on the faceoffs. I know he doesn't normally take faceoffs, but I think he slid into the middle with Barkov being out on that top line or something, because he was taking faceoffs this week, and that's a little odd to me. The numbers are good. It's the peripherals that concern me moving forward. And no matter how long Barkov's out, when you're missing your captain, that's never a good thing. So hopefully he gets back and we can keep this watch going.
Yeah, but just a quick one on Jonathan Huberdeau. 1 more point than your guy, Mikko Rantanen, but he's tied for 5th in the league in points with Mark Scheifele. So this guy, I mean, no one's going to write him down top of mind as a superstar. He is a superstar, and Alexander Barkov's a superstar too, and that's kind of become the point of this whole Barks and Hubie watch, to now shine a light on these guys who they're in Florida. They're not going to be watched as much.
Dude, they're both top 15. Both of them have more points than, listen to these names, ready? Jake Gensel, Nathan McKinnon, Nick Backstrom, Ansei Kopitar, Max Pacioretty. Like, these guys are good players. Jonathan Huberdeau has more points than Austin Matthews, Mikko Rantanen, Sidney Crosby, Mark Stone.
Yeah. So, I mean, just fantastic players, and it's been fun to watch them all season. We'll keep doing it as long as the team, which looks like is making the playoffs, stays alive. So that is.
I mean, it changes in the playoffs because then we just are watching them for the sake of watching them.
No, but and it becomes more highlighted. I mean, if one of them could put in a couple goals and maybe even win a series for the Panthers. So
that's true.
Definitely. So, all right, it's time to stop talking about players and time to start talking about referees. And this one's about former referee now, Tim Peel, who got caught on a live mic saying probably what nearly every referee has said at some point. He wanted to get a penalty call on Nashville in their game against Detroit to kind of even up the calls. He was caught on the hot mic, and it becomes an integrity of the game issue. So, Nick, the first thing we have to look at is Tim Peel will not be refereeing any more games in the future for the NHL. He was scheduled to retire anyways at the end of the season, but he's now done. So was the punishment justified for the crime?
Yes. If you are going out of your way to change games for personal reasons, because it sounds like, I mean, they only keep playing that one section, and I didn't watch the game. I don't know what happened. It doesn't look like they were calling a lot of stuff for Nashville early in the game, so it's not like it was a makeup call. And
that was the idea, though. He wanted to get a makeup call.
It sounded like it, but there wasn't any calls against Detroit at that point, I don't think. It more sounded to me like something happened in the game that he didn't like from Nashville, and he was just trying to get them back. Almost like, I know this is going to sound petty because I didn't watch the game, so I don't know if this is true, but it sounds like, you know, those like youth referees where you shoot the puck out the boards and it hits them and they're like, oh, I'm going to get you back later in the game sort of penalty. That's kind of what the audio sounded like. Again, I didn't watch the game. I'm not saying that's what happened. But if you're going and doing that, that is unacceptable. Any referee, any sport, you pick it. I don't care. You can't be manipulating the game for your own personal agenda, I guess is the best way to put it.
And this is something that referees have done. It's happened for a long, long time, nearly as long as I can remember. I mean, I can even remember as a kid watching Hockey Night in Canada and hearing the commentators remarking on how teams would have to watch themselves because you would expect a makeup call to be coming. So it's part of the game. Unfortunately, Tim Peel got caught on a live mic, which is a whole nother situation that's not even really being publicly talked about there. But you got caught on a live mic, so yes, because you've compromised the integrity of the game, the punishment is justified in that regard.
And let's make it very clear. This guy didn't get fired. This guy is not out of business. He's not making money. He's just not reffing games anymore, which means he's going to be put into an advisory role within the referees union. So he's going to be observing this is my assumption, but this is most likely how it's going to go. He is going to observe other referees for the remainder of the season in order to help them get better. Because referees go through checks all the time. They have other refs watching all the games anyway to try to give them advice on what they did well, what they didn't do well. So he's probably moving into that role for the remainder of the season. And let's not forget, he's retiring at the end of this season. This was his last year anyway. He's only here for another 2 months. Or a month and a half. That's it. That's all we got left of Tim Peel anyway.
I'm skeptical about that. I think maybe if you're doing that on an independent basis just for the referees union, that might be, but I don't think.
No, that's all it would be. That's all I'm saying. The referees union will find a way to just get him to that retirement date.
Yeah,
and
but
that's the only way they can.
As far as analyzing referees for the NHL and having any impact on future NHL events, no, I don't think Tim Peel can.
No. He's not involved with the NHL, but he'll be helping with NHL referees through the referees union, basically.
Yeah, it would more be an informal, like not the NHL
union formal, but not NHL.
Yeah, the NHL wouldn't take his advice perhaps on who should be refereeing.
Oh, no. I'm literally talking about the refs trying to get better. You give them a rundown after every game. He'll be doing that, and that's all he'll be able to do.
I can see that happening. Now, one thing that we did see, there was a Toronto-Ottawa game last Thursday, and Wayne Simmonds wasn't happy about a missed call. And when he went to talk to the referee in the commercial break, the referee puts his hand up under his chin and covers his mic to avoid a live mic situation. Did it twice. So is that going to be something going forward? Will it change the way referees operate with their live mics?
I mean, yes, but I don't know if here's the thing. We don't know why he covered the mic in that situation. He could have been covering it for many reasons. One, possibly being that Wayne Simmonds was using language that he wasn't supposed to. Or he was using language that he didn't want to be caught. Not necessarily to the extent of Tim Peel where he was saying, oh no, I had to get you guys back, or there was nothing to call there. we don't know what the situation was for him covering the mic. I've seen refs do that in games where there was fans in the stands cover the mic like that. There's different reasons for it. I don't want to throw that guy under the bus, but it looked really bad that it happened the same week as the Tim Peel situation. And considering that I watched that game, there should have been a penalty at the end of that game.
I think he did it because of the Tim Peel situation. And I also put up on Twitter that if I was part of the referees union, this would be fuel for or negotiating tactic for saying we're not wearing mics anymore.
It doesn't matter though. There's no fans in the stands. You can hear them anyway off of the mics from the broadcast.
Yeah.
So this year it wouldn't matter. He would have been caught regardless.
Well, yeah, he would have been caught. I'm saying going forward for the referees union, I'm thinking we're not doing the mics anymore. Like,
well, they have to have a mic on the two refs.
Why do they have to?
To announce penalties into the stands.
We have PA announcers, and they announce them anyways. Toronto penalty, number 24, Wayne Simmonds, 2 minutes for hooking.
I know.
Yeah.
But they have to get that up. It's a whole situation that the refs agreed to long ago. This isn't something new.
So they brought it on themselves. I mean,
part they brought on them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a live mic all the time because they have to turn it on and off, but the mic always has to be there.
Yeah, and for somehow this was connected to the truck. So the fans didn't hear the Tim Peel, but the people on the TV broadcast heard Tim Peel.
Because there are no oh wait, no, he was down in the States. Yeah, there were fans.
Yeah, there were fans. But in arena they didn't hear him, but over the truck.
Loud in the arena.
Yeah, but he wasn't over the mic in the arena. He was over the mic on the TV broadcast. So now the big thing I think that hit into this and why the punishment did have to be so severe, there's no leeway as far as I'm concerned about the punishment, and that is now the gambling aspect. People are putting a lot of money on these games, regardless of who's playing, even if it is Detroit and Nashville in the regular season. And you're getting into risky business here, possible lawsuits when you have people who are just putting money on the game. Maybe they're not invested. And it comes out that a referee made a call that wasn't a call, which altered the integrity of the game. So for me, the gambling here is the real reason for the severe punishment.
Yeah, well, I mean, thankfully, this had no impact on the actual game. Nashville still won. Detroit couldn't score for their lives. So, thankfully, this didn't play into effect in this game. But who knows what happens in other games, right? We don't know. There's a chance that it could have affected games in the past. We can't. There's no way for us to know that. You just hope that it doesn't. Yeah. And I mean, we hear the names of a few, like I'm sure you could name off a bunch of referees, Ryan, off the top of your head. Some of them because they're really good, right? Some of them because they're really bad. But we can name a bunch of refs. Tim Peel was one of the ones that for the longest time, at least from my perspective, was on the good side. Every time you heard of Tim Peel, the only bad thing that he had was that he did a tequila shot with a reporter and got suspended for a game. That was way back when. That was a few years ago. That was it. That's the only thing that's bad that's happened with Tim Peel. On the ice, he was usually a pretty good ref. So if this was a one-time incident, it sucks.
At
the same time, you can't do it.
One thing that I did hear is that now, I mean, with gambling involved, it seems like we're going to get to the point now where the referees need to do a quick post-game scrum to explain themselves and just kind of keep it on the up and up, which I think is a gateway to so many extra things. And at the same time, I was listening to Nick Kiprios' podcast, Real Kipper at Noon, and heard Doug McLean talking about when he was in the game as far as a coach or general manager. He always knew the referees that were reffing and always, complaining about this guy or that guy or the other guy. And then when he's out of the game as a media member, just watching the game, never even notices the referee. So that now leans into why are so many managers able to have access and influence the game or the way the referees call the game? Like, you may have a problem with the referee. There should be a formal complaint process that should cost some money. So you really have to think about it if you're going to get into it. And it shouldn't just be a direct line to complain after every game. about the referees, because one team loses and one team wins. So every single game, there's going to be one team who's not happy. So I just don't like the direct access that the managers have. And I think at some point, like I mentioned, you got to have referees or a referee supervisor doing a 1 or 2 minute scrum after the game.
I agree with that. I actually do think that there should be a scrum for the referees after the game, mostly because I think it holds them accountable. It holds them accountable for situations like this. Like, why did you make this call? Well, from my vantage point, if they explain themselves, I feel like it helps their case, right? And then they go back and say, hey, you know what? I watched this again after. Next time, I will make sure I convene with my refs a little bit more because I didn't go to them, and that's why there was no call made. There probably should have been a call made. I don't mind them saying that. But we don't hear that. We don't hear them going back and saying, we didn't see it this way, so we went with the call on the ice, and we didn't hear anything from Toronto. The control room.
Control room, yeah.
Control room. To say that we needed to look at it. So, you know what? For me, I don't mind it. Like, it's tough, but I would prefer them to do that, to be held accountable. I know it opens them up to a lot of criticism, but if they're doing the right things, the criticism turns into accolades, and I would, as a ref, you would love to hear that.
All right, so now we've wrapped up with the referees. We'll see how much actually changes from this. I would say from the few days after that, the referees want nothing to change, but we'll see if there's any changes made in the offseason.
Well, nothing's going to happen during the season. We knew that. There might be some talk in the offseason.
Yeah, well, it's a wait and see, and Tim Peel got caught, and he will not be refereeing any more NHL games. When we come back from break, though, we will be talking about the new shorter quarantine period for NHL players traded to Canadian teams.
Hey guys, I'm Gabe Ferraro.
And I'm Logan Lockhart from Between the Uprights on the Garage Door Sports Network.
We cover everything football from NFL, CFL, and all off-season storylines. We make our weekly picks during the season and cover every headline in the off-season.
Check us out on the shows tab at GarageDoorSports.com for our weekly episodes.
We're back. 20 minutes on ice. We are now talking about the quarantine period. NHL players coming in to Canada. It was 14 days that they would have to quarantine. It's now down to 7 with some extra testing. So this actually pertains. The first person to come in is Eric Staal. So will this actually, the fear was going into the trade deadline, we talked about it last week, less trades would be made because you can't be waiting around for 2 weeks, and a player can't be coming, he gets out of rhythm by sitting around in a hotel room for 2 weeks, if that is the situation. Is this going to encourage more trades leading up to and at the trade deadline, Nick?
Is it going to encourage more? Possibly. Is it going to result in more? I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, Ryan. I don't know. But what I will say is that last week I predicted that if there was going to be trades between the North Division and the rest of the divisions, it was going to happen last week. Well, I'm going to predict it's going to happen this week now because we got another 7 days. So if there's going to be a trade, it's not going to happen trade deadline day. It's going to happen the week before trade deadline day, which is, well, this week.
It's I don't see it. I think more talk will be drummed up because of this. The GMs might think there's more possibilities, but there's so many teams that are tight to the cap this year that from the insiders reporting, it sounds like it has to be money in, money out trades this year at the deadline. So a quarantine period, regardless of how short or long it is, it may seem exciting, but then the money in, money out situation just kind of trumps that and shuts it down. So for me, yeah, we'll get more chatter, so a lot more to report on. But then when it actually gets to trade deadline day, those guys on TSN and Sportsnet, I feel sorry for them that they're going to have to cover so much time.
You feel sorry for them? I have to cover it for our network. Don't give me that. This is going to be an awful day. Thankfully, I don't have to talk for the whole time.
Exactly. That's the difference there. They have to come up with material and bits. So it will be interesting, but I don't think this reduced quarantine period is going to increase the trades, unfortunately, because trade deadline day is just a great time to sit in your underpants, dig into a lazy boy, and just watch what they come out with on TV.
Or even better, for me, last year, trade deadline day was 3 classes that I had to cover the deadline during. So I'm in class, and we were remote at that point too, I guess. Or
Yeah.
Were we? I can't remember. Either way, I was in class covering the trade deadline for the network, tweeting out everything that I could. Like, it was awful.
Oh, fantastic. So, I mean, we don't see too much changing, but hopefully we're wrong. Because
I think Edmonton and Montreal might make a couple moves. More likely Montreal. If we're looking at a North Division team that I think would make some moves, Montreal is the team that I would say will make the most moves. They've already made one with the Eric Staal acquisition. I could see them trying to pick up another top 9 forward, not necessarily top 6, but a top 9 forward to fill in, and possibly another defenseman. But that's like a secondary piece. I think they need another top 9 forward. I think they're going to go for it. They're in that 4th spot. They need to hold off Calgary and Vancouver. Now, they also have 5 games in hand on both of those teams, 6 on Vancouver. So I'm not too concerned about them. In fact, I think they'll actually bump over Edmonton and finish 3rd in the division.
I'm surprised, yeah.
Call me crazy.
Yeah.
Edmonton just has no goaltending except for Mike Smith, and he plays every 3rd game.
Yeah, your doppelganger there. But going back, yeah, you guys look alike. Trust me. Going back to Montreal.
I'll show you someone who looks alike after the show.
Going back to the Montreal Canadiens, and just before we started recording here, Nick, I don't know if you saw it, but the schedule has been adjusted. So now the league regular season is actually going to be extended by a day. And there's talk that the NHL wants to compress the schedule as much as possible. So if you don't play on that extended day, which I believe now is May 12th, they may still
11th or 12th, yeah.
11th or 12th. They may still start the playoffs the very next day. We may go from 1 day regular season and go right into the playoffs. If you played on the last 2 days, you may not play on day 1 of the playoffs, but whoever is available could possibly go right into the playoffs. That'd be an interesting situation.
I don't care. It doesn't bother me. As long as the teams don't play the day before, I don't give a crap.
Yeah, everyone going in with a rested team is ideal, as rested as you could possibly be. When it gets
all good. Pretty much everyone plays on the 11th anyway.
Yeah. The Leafs used to have a situation where they would finish their season on a Saturday, and then their first playoff game wouldn't be until like day 2 or 3 of the playoffs, which would be a Thursday or Friday. That's too much time as a fan, and probably too much time for the players if they're rolling. But it'll be interesting to see just the season stop, and the very next day you're thinking playoffs, new rules, new excitement. So definitely something to keep an eye on going forward. We will be coming right back here on 20 Minutes on Ice as we will be getting in to our players of the week. Stick around. We're back. Ryan Haslett, Nick McVicker. This is 20 Minutes on Ice. And it is time now to get into all of our regular segments, and that includes Players of the Week.
I love that song. I love it.
A lot of pomp and circumstance there. Nick, let's start off here. We never usually start off, so let's start off with our actual Players of the Week. And you're batting leadoff.
I'm batting leadoff?
You're batting leadoff.
So kind. Yeah. Well, Ryan, I've been on a defenseman kick the last few weeks. I had Barry as my player of the week 2 weeks ago. Last week I had Jamie Drysdale as my rookie of the week. Well, guess what? I'm going defenseman for player of the week this week, and I think this is more than well deserved. Adam Fox from the New York Rangers has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. Just so good. 11 points in 4 games. 10 assists. He's averaging 24-42 time on ice. 7 power play points. So he's not just doing it even strength as a defenseman. And a +3, which means he gave up 1 even strength goal this week.
I also saw that he had a shorthanded point too. And
he does have a shorthanded point too. You're right.
That's kind of just a little, icing on the cake. I love the fact that he's near 25 minutes.
So actually, let me correct that then. That means he has 0 even strength goals against. 0.
He's a name for the Rangers that is supposed to be
underrated.
He's very underrated, under the radar, but the Rangers, this is what they expected of him. Not 11 points in a week, but
not 11 and 4. Yeah.
But you know what? They had the benefit of playing the Philadelphia Flyers again, and I would have gone with Fox, but I've gone with a different Ranger for my player of the week for March 22nd to 28th, we should mention. But Mika Zibanejad, I'm going with here. 4 goals, 4 assists this week, another 6-point game against the Philadelphia Flyers. Flyers do not want to keep playing the Rangers.
I mean,
here.
it helps that they were playing the Philadelphia Flyers this week, who have been awful.
Yeah, they're a weird story this year. Half of Zibanejad's points, 4 of them on the power play. He did have a game winner this past week, and 6 of those points, like I mentioned, against the Flyers. Mika Zibanejad, who people were complaining or wondering, this guy's been a little quiet. Give him 2 games against the Flyers and he wakes up.
It helps.
All right, let's get to our rookies of the week. I'll take the lead on this one, and a guy who maybe disappeared a bit from the list the last few weeks, but is showing up here. Pius Suter from the Chicago Blackhawks. He had 3 goals this week, and he scored those 3 goals on 8 shots, so that's a 37.5
love it
shooting percentage, and all 3 of his goals were even strength, so he's getting it done 5-on-5, which is more difficult to do on the power play, and those 3 goals coming in 3 games. So Pius Suter is my rookie of the week.
Absolutely love it, Ryan. I loved watching this kid play. He was a surprise to me at the beginning of the season. He's no longer a surprise to me. He's been consistent. And that's what you want from a rookie. You want consistency. He's the definition of consistent. Someone who I don't think I ever expected to put on this list at the beginning of the week or beginning of the year. Well, I have my rookie and goalie of the week all in one, Ryan. I think that's the first time we've combined categories, but I think it's well deserved.
Wrapping it up in a nice bundle package.
Philip Gustafson from Ottawa has been phenomenal this week. 2 games, 2 wins, .969 save percentage, only giving up 2 goals on 65 shots. Take that, run with it, Ottawa, because guess what? Matt Murray is not the answer.
It's not his year, but they need it to be his year next year because they got him for 3-4 more years after this. They've got a commitment to Matt Murray, but they may expose him. I don't think Seattle would be dumb enough to take him in the expansion draft.
Might, but it depends if they need to get to the floor.
Good point, Nick. Good point, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ottawa exposes Matt Murray at this rate.
He'll be exposed. They will protect either Forsberg or Gustafson at this point.
Or Decord, even if they want.
Yeah. I don't think Decord.
I don't know.
One of the two, Decord or Gustafson, won't be. I don't think we'll have enough games played.
Yeah,
by the end of the year,
they have to protect one goalie, so who knows? We'll see.
So they might protect Forsberg and be able to keep the other 2 as well.
If Forsberg sticks with the Senators, he's on 5 teams this year. So my goalie of the week from the Nashville Predators before he got injured, and he's actually missing tonight's game as we're recording against the Blackhawks. UC Saros, 3 games. He went 3-0. He had a shutout during that time. 2 goals against total in those 3 games. So that gives him a 0.67 goals against average and a .976 save percentage for UC Saros here. That's my goalie of the week, and Nashville certainly surprising when everyone was counting them out and saying that it's a fire sale on all their players.
Because it was. Ryan, I have to add in. The Saros is an easy answer. He was actually my number 1, but we can't give the same answer. And as soon as you took him, I'm like, you know what? I'm taking Gustafson, so it's an easy answer. Sutter has 2 points in that game as well.
In
He
the
got 2
game tonight,
assists in the Nashville
Chicago.
game, our Nashville Chicago game. So he's up to 5 in 4 games this week.
Yeah.
So great call on your rookie as well.
Beautiful. All right. So that was our players of the week for March 22nd to 28th. Now let's look at the teams as a whole for our 3 hot, 3 not segment. Same time period, March 22nd to 28th. Nick, you're on the 3 not this week, so you're up first.
All right. Well, I'm throwing it right out right now. Buffalo is at the bottom, but I'm not talking about them. I'm picking 3 other teams because Buffalo deserves to be at the bottom for the rest of the season. I'm not. Anytime I have not, they're not going to be there anymore unless something really stands out that like they got 0 goals in a week or something. Then I might talk about them, but it's not happening. So I'm going to start at number 3. I'm talking LA Kings. 2 games, 2 losses this week, averaging a goal and a half, 4 per game, but giving up 3 goals a game is not good. 0% on the power play, but the 2 positive numbers for me is that they had a 100% penalty kill and they were averaging 43 shots a game. Now, those numbers are good. The rest of the numbers aren't great, but those numbers are positive, which means that it gives me a hope that they will be able to dig out, which is why they're 3rd and not 2nd, because the 2nd team that I have on this list is actually the St. Louis Blues, who picked up a point this week, but lost all 4 of their games. One of them was an overtime or shootout loss. 1 goal 4 per game in 4 games is not good enough. 3.5 goals against, 10% on the power play, 75% on the penalty kill. Those numbers are not positive. The shots, 31.84, 23.5 against. I mean, they're suppressing shots, but they're still giving up 14 goals in 4 games, and that's not good enough, Ryan. It's not.
And they've been linked now to Taylor Hall because their goal scoring has dried up.
Right, because the guy with 1 goal is going to help you. Anyway, I knew you'd like that. That brings me to my number 1, and that's the Vancouver Canucks, the other team that went winless on the week without a point. Sorry, I should say pointless, not winless, because technically St. Louis did pick up a point. Columbus picked up a point. Edmonton picked up a point, but they didn't win a game. The numbers are awful for Vancouver. Really, really bad. 2 games, they only scored 1 goal. They gave up 9. So a 0.5 goals for per game, 4.5 goals against per game is not good. Big old goose egg on the power play, and 50% on the penalty kill. And they're also the only team on this list that gave up more shots than they took in their games this week, giving up 32.5 shots. Not ideal. You want to keep that number under 30. They could not do that, and that's why they're there.
It's so interesting to see the 2 teams that had 2 Canadian teams that had success in the playoffs last year, Vancouver and Calgary, are not having the success this year. And both are in jeopardy of missing out on the playoffs. Granted, they are only 2 points behind, but like you mentioned earlier in our show, Montreal has 5 games in hand thanks to their COVID delay here.
5 on Calgary and 6 on Vancouver.
Yeah. And
that's tough.
I like Travis Green as a coach. I can understand why this season may cost him his job. It's been a while there now, and this is a step back.
Nature of the business too.
Yeah, so I hope he stays around, but we'll see. Let's turn those frowns upside down now and do the 3 hot teams and end on a positive note. And my number 3 team here, I'm going to take the opportunity to put them on a hot list. There's a few other teams that could jump into this spot, but the Ottawa Senators had a very unlike Ottawa Senators week at 2 wins, 0 regulation losses, and an overtime loss. Now the stats here are very Ottawa Senators type stats with only 7 goals for in those 3 games, but only 5 against in the 3 games.
We talked about it, right? Gustafsson and Anton Forsberg have been phenomenal this week.
Yeah,
and you got to take those when you can.
That's 5. They got 5 of a possible 6 points from the 22nd to the 28th. 2 wins against Calgary, and the overtime win came against the Toronto Maple Leafs, where Austin Matthews breaks up a 3-on-1 in the neutral zone by kicking the puck down out of midair. Like I mentioned, these are going to be Ottawa Senators stats, 0% on the power play, but they did kill off every penalty that they have. Now, my number 2 team, they
You
could
forgot
have
the face-off. 54% on the face-off is also pretty good for an Ottawa Senators team. With
absolutely
young centermen.
I didn't notice that they were in the plus column in the face-off.
54.2%.
All right. So now let's get to my number 2 team, who is actually playing as we're recording. And if they were to win that game, which they're up 3-2 in the third on Chicago, they would actually have a 4-0-0 week. But right now the Nashville Predators have a 3-0-0 week. Still low, somewhat low on the goal for 12 goal for, only 2 wins against Detroit, 1 win against Chicago. They're looking for another win against Chicago right now. Decent numbers as far as special team goes, 33.3 power play and 88.9 penalty kill percentage. It's not 100%, but it's still great numbers that will get the job done for a team that is trying to make the playoffs. And then it's nice to see this team on the hot list, my number 1 team.
I mean, if you like them.
I like them. The Pittsburgh Penguins went 3-1 this week, scoring 15 goals in those 4 games, only 5 against. So again, excellent defense there, and 30.8% on the power play. When you have a guy like Crosby, and normally they have Malkin, but Malkin's out, Kapanen's out. They had a good week with both.
$27 million or $21 million worth of forwards was out at one point this week.
And they managed to go 3-1 and still scored goals and still had a good power play and 100% on the PK. That's usually a reason to find yourself on the 3 hot lists. Now, a little bit of an asterisk here. They played Buffalo twice. 2 wins against Buffalo, but did.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
They did beat the Islanders.
Throw it out. I'm putting Arizona in.
They did beat the Islanders. So it's nice to see the Pittsburgh Penguins on the 3 hot list there. And Sidney Crosby's starting to put up the points like Sidney Crosby does, and he's in the top section of point getters in the NHL.
Yep. Again, I love seeing players get back to their norm, and a player like Crosby is one that you want to see. 7 points this week. You'll love it.
Yep. Number 87.
Top 6. Tied for 4th, but top 6 in points this week among all players.
Excellent. All right, let's fire up the randomizer to see how we're going to close out the show this week. All right, this week we are playing Who Am I? Who Am I? This is pretty much
it's my turn.
Yes, you're up. You're up. So while I explain the rules, you have to come up with a hockey personality. Okay. So this is a 20 questions situation, 20 yes or no questions. I'll be asking Nick to try and figure out who his hockey personality is. It can be player, former player, broadcaster, manager, something. Sometimes we have a theme here, but we'll see what Nick has cooked up here while I've been talking to you. Nick, do you have a theme you want to share, or should I just start hammering out some questions?
Do we have a theme? Show related.
Show related. Okay. Well, we've had so many NHL superstars on the show. That's going to be tough, but that's all right. And you're going to be counting.
I'll do you even better. Episode related.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So
you got to remember what you talked about for the last 50 minutes, Ryan. Come on.
You'll be keeping track of the questions here. I got 20 questions. Try and figure this guy out. My first question, is it a current player?
No.
Not a current player. And we talked about him this week. Former player?
No.
Not a former player. Broadcaster?
No.
Not a Wow, Nick, you're throwing me for a loop already. Manager?
I know. You're never going to get it.
Manager, Nick. Is he a manager? No. Not a broadcaster, not a player.
You already asked that.
I'm recapping my failures to this point.
four questions and he's already recapping.
What else can he possibly? Is he a mascot?
No.
What are you?
5.
What are you doing?
Quarter of the way through, ladies and gentlemen. I'm killing it.
He's a hockey personality.
Yes.
Oh, so
is that a question?
Oh no! I'm recapping. Don't count that. Okay, so our lead topic was, is he a referee?
Yes.
Okay, so he's a referee. A current referee. Ooh.
Yes.
Okay, he's a current referee. Okay, current referees.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah. This is an off the record question. This one doesn't count. Would you know what division he's refereeing in? Or country he's refereeing in?
I can try to find out.
Who? So you've just chosen a random referee.
Well, no, I know him.
You know him.
I know him.
Well, if he's a current referee, it's not Tim Peel. And that's
a question.
That's a question. That's fair. I guess we have to go with the most well-known referee. Is it Wes McCauley?
Fuck you.
Oh. Nick comes in, Wes McCauley. That's pretty good, Nick, though. I was, crapping my pants when he wasn't a former current player, manager, mascot, broadcast personality. I actually had to look at the script there to remind myself that we talked about
cheating.
Referees.
Cheating!
Could you, now if I flip that on you, could you have even named a former referee? Anybody?
Former referee?
I can think of 2 former referees off the top of my head. That's about it. Maybe 3.
No.
Big mustache.
No, so I was hoping you wouldn't figure out it was a referee.
Okay.
That's why I didn't want to give the theme away, but I gave you the theme because we've been giving themes.
Yeah.
Had I not given you the theme, there was no chance you were getting that right.
You helped me out. You're absolutely correct, Nick. So how many questions did I end up asking there?
9.
9.
If you count the one that you asked, is it Wes McCauley?
You gave me a huge helper there with the theme and mentioning the referee. So let's just say I got it in 18 questions there to score the imaginary points.
No. You got it in 11. It's fine. I'll give it. That's fine.
All right, there we go. And that is the horn to bring an end to this 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button, give us the like, and be sure to subscribe to the Garage Door Sports Network. You can also head on over to garagedoorsports.com. Find us under the shows tab. Nick and I are on Twitter. I'm at Ryan_H16. Nick's at Nick McVicker, pardon me. The show, we're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're at 20 Minutes on Ice. Be sure to tune in next week. We'll have more 20 Minutes on Ice for you. Until then, thank you for listening. Goodbye, everybody.